cut-price Sonic-style action on your 8-bit, it's Turbo the Tortoise. Yes, of course, it's going to be a Sonic clone. The name is Turbo the Tortoise. And it's a game by Hi-Tec, released in 1992 towards the end of the summer, although you may have purchased it on the Codemasters label because Hi-Tec went bust pretty much as this game was released, and Codemasters picked this game up and then put it out themselves. And we're going to start off on the Commodore 64. This is the Codemasters version. I don't think there's any other difference other than the copyright notices between the Hi-Tec and the Codemasters version, although I imagine the Hi-Tec version is probably more collectible if they went bust very quickly after it was released. Visual Impact did the coding, at least here on the C64. There are 6 zones you have to battle your way through, and yes, I mean, it's a horizontally scrolling platformer with no music as you play. Nice high-res sprite for Turbo there. And yeah, that baddie disappeared. I was waiting to jump on him, and suddenly he's not there. Anyway, you jump around the level, you collect things. There's rocks there that I can now throw at bad guys. A limited supply of 10, as displayed in the bottom right-hand side. You can jump on baddies. It is not as fluid as you would expect from a console game. It can just be easier to throw rocks at the baddies or just avoid them altogether, because unless you hit them dead on, it doesn't really work. Some baddies like that one you can't actually jump on, and some of them involve having to jump on them twice, like this one, which means you jump on them the first time, you don't know which ones they are, and go, oh, look, there's some rocks up there. How do we get to them? How do we get to those rocks? Oh, look, invisible platform. And there's a lot of invisible platforms in this game. It's like something they've put in to make the game a little bit harder because they felt it was too easy. Jumped on him there. And we go through to a bonus level. It's not a very exciting bonus level. You just collect all the fruit. There's no time limit. You can spend as much time as you want, and really, yeah, it's underwhelming as bonus levels go. Not even any fancy power-ups. Over to the Amstrad CPC. And no title screen music. And it is a multi-load, I'm afraid. Loads in 2 levels at a time. It's the prehistoric zone. And it's the standard Hi-Tec horizontally scrolling engine. Graphics are colourful. The baddies there are a little bit kind of square down there, but very heavily stylised. Level layout is the same. There is only a Spectrum, an Amstrad and a C64 version of the game. I expect if Hi-Tec had continued any longer, there would have been an ST and Amiga version. Over to the Spectrum. And on the Spectrum and CPC, it's PAL Developments and Visual Impact. PAL Developments, of course, they are Hi-Tec, aren't they? There's some kind of relationship between the two. And no music on the Specky either, even though we're on 128K here. And you get the feeling this is a game that was perhaps, well, shoved out as quickly as they could because Hi-Tec were about to go bust. It's not that it's not lacking polish. It's just that the sound effects and the lack of music, that's not a bonus section there. That said, this didn't stop the Spectrum version getting 94% and a mega game from your Sinclair, although it was Andy Hutchinson who gave it that, so you can take away 10% at least automatically. C64 version, that's the end of level baddie I've just defeated, and there's the first of the 6 things I need to collect. A big sun thing there. Your Sinclair, by the way, called this a superb game and thoroughly playable and wonderfully varied. Another invisible platform on the C64. And the levels are they're different zones, but it's always the same kind of thing, just run along horizontally. The platforms always look the same, it's just the colours change. This is the Amstrad version. And we're just going to finish level 1 on the CPC here, and it's just jump on the head of the bad guy. Amstrad action game is 93 for graphics, 62% for Sonics. What Sonics? I mean, there's hardly anything there. And 88% overall. And they really liked it, but said it wasn't as good as Potsworth and Company that came out roughly the same time. I expect because Potsworth and Company just had a bit more time to finish it off before Hi-Tec went bust. But it is nice and colourful on the CPC, even if the window is very narrow. It's a video memory saving thing, keeping the speed of the game up. Also because, as I say, Hi-Tec have this standard engine they reuse between all their games. Incidentally, I was looking through some of the reviews on Lemon 64, and one of the Lemon 64 reviewers, as wrong-minded as many of them can be on there, said the C64 version doesn't measure up to the CPC version. Over to the Spectrum. And there's the end-of-level baddie. It's a thing with a beard. And all the end-of-level baddies are essentially the same. They just get marginally more difficult with their movements. And we're over to the medieval zone, the third of the levels on the CPC. It's not bad value for $3.99. Especially at a time when Hi-Tec were experimenting with the mid-priced games like the Jetsons. I mean, I'd much rather have this than the Jetsons, even though it is rather limited. C64. It's not. It uses the hardware on the C64 well. The high-res main sprite, the smooth scrolling. No, it's not Mayhem in Monsterland, but what is? It's a $3.99 budget game from a software house about to go bust. And that's the end of the level baddie there. And therefore, yes, lack of music aside, it's not bad value. Mind you, it's not the CJ games either, is it? From Codemasters, especially CJ's Elephant Antics, which is a particular favourite of mine, although at least you can play this on the CPC. This is the present day zone, if you hadn't already clocked that. It's all the same thing as before. And you can't kill those dogs. I don't know why you can't jump on them, you can't shoot them, they just seem to be indestructible. It's one of those slightly irritating things about the game. It's how many bounces does it take to kill things? Can you jump on things? Or can you not kill them? Inconsistencies in the game world, I think we'd call it. Oh, you see, I've jumped on the dog there on the CPC. But it's not bad budget fun. It's just that it's kind of this thing where Hi-Tec just ground out these games using the engine Spectrum version. And that's no bad thing. It's not like, was it Atlantis with all those games that use the same engine as Cave Mania. Although you're not going to be showing this to your mate with a Mega Drive and go, look, we've got something on the Spectrum that's as good as Sonic. He's called Turbo the Tortoise, and yet he's not very fast. There's no special moves. You would have thought, perhaps if I hold down fire, he might go fast, because he's depicted as having these exhaust things coming out of him. And unless I'm doing something wrong here, no, there is no turn of speed at all. Here's the Future Zone on the C64. It's the same thing again. Well, actually, the Future Zone has a bit more variation because there are these doors that shut on you. And there's the end of game baddie. Look, it's Paul Robinson from Neighbours. And he's been killed. To go back to Lassiter's. And that's what I need to complete the game on the 64. Congratulations, you completed Turbo the Tortoise. Underwhelming. That's the word. Turbo the Tortoise, the last gasp from Hi-Tec that, well, at least we got to play it because Codemasters picked it up. Has the feeling of a game that's slightly unfinished in terms of why is there no music? That's so many Hi-Tec games feel unfinished and lack that final polish. It's £4. It's a generic platformer with reasonable graphics on all of these systems and rather lackluster sound. I can't find much to say about it on any of the versions. CPC version looks nice, but it's that standard Hi-Tec engine. Same with the Spectrum version. And the C64 version, we've got that extra hardware to help with the scrolling. They've just not put that extra amount of effort in. That said, it's £4 in an era where original budget content was becoming hard to come by. It was starting to be all re-releases or really shoddy stuff from some of the publishers. It's certainly not 94% from your Sinclair. It's probably, for £4, somewhere in the 70s, competently done. Will pass an hour or two, and then you'll go on and play something better. To be honest, probably Sonic on your mate's Mega Drive.